Why do we need food tech, and why do we need to solve this? Why is it even an issue? If each of you could just shed light on that.
Hello. Hi. It's a pleasure to be here. So the question is, why do we need food tech, and how can it solve it?
Why are we trying to solve this? Why is it even an issue to begin with?
So I think it's a huge issue, world hunger. I think we never lived in such a wealthy and prosperity, although with all the crises in the world, humanity is in a very high level of prosperity in general in developed countries. So I truly believe that the tech we have developed to make personalized nutrition for sports, to make all of the decisions we're making now with food that is more transparent, can be applied for world hunger.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. It's hard to...
Oh, it's okay. So why are we trying to solve food tech? Why is it even an issue? And why do we need to solve it?
You're saying why food tech and why we're trying to solve this
Yes,
issue, right?
yes.
I'm so sorry. So
It's okay, I hear an echo too.
yeah, I'll take it from a perspective because I'm an academic, I will say so. The zeroth law of thermodynamics says actually if a system is equal with A and B and C, so that means A and C are equal to. It sounds so simple, but I don't think a food tech is a problem on its own. So food, energy, and water is a nexus that it needs to be broken. So every problem comes with each other. So food production means energy and water. That's why, I mean, they are the three major things that is the survival for human being, you know, and that's why I think it deserves tackling. And, you know, given the issues that climate change, increase of population, and thinking that these people, growing population, will live in the, you know, hot climates. People cannot go anywhere, so they need technologies to be solved and fed in the future.
And for those who are living in harsh climates, why can't we just fly food in from around the world?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there are several aspects to it that we can feed people for future, but we cannot do it sustainably, and it's by now very obvious. And that's why in our company, Red Sea Farms, we are aiming to feed the world, but in the most sustainable way possible.
Thank you. Mohammed?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. You know, first of all, it's an honor to be here. I was actually born in Jeddah, so in many ways it's a very significant experience to be back. So to address the question, I think it's important to identify two very significant paradoxes that we're facing in our future. The first is that our planet is rapidly growing in both population and appetite. At the same time, it's shrinking in resources with which to produce food. The second paradox is that when you look at malnourishment, malnourishment just simply means being badly nourished. We typically think of malnourishment as people who are hungry. That's part of the equation. But malnourishment can also mean eating too much of the things that are bad for our bodies. And so we have a double burden of malnutrition in the world, where in some countries you have hunger, and in other countries you have obesity and diabetes driven by overnutrition of calories that are harmful to the body. And so years ago, my co-founders and I looked at this problem and we started thinking, if we want to develop a future-proof, climate-resilient, drought-resistant, and scalable food production system, we have to think radically outside the box, and we have to leverage technology, which is a significant resource we have, to really help us to produce food at a scale that was previously unthinkable in history.
Amazing. And now why, I guess, how is Aspire doing this?
So at Aspire, years ago, we looked at this problem, and first we started thinking about food security. And food security is defined as not having access to safe, affordable, and nutritious food. And that's important because, Marcio and I were talking about this before, you could address hunger, but that doesn't necessarily mean what people are eating is nutritious. So you have to go a step above just the baseline of feeding someone and actually making sure what they're eating is nutritious. But then you have to go a step even higher than that and start thinking about food sovereignty. How do you actually liberate and emancipate populations to actually produce their own foods? And that's because there are some countries in the world, based on their geography and their location, that are tremendously blessed in their ability to produce foods. But there are other countries that are simply not. And so how do you bridge that disadvantage? So at Aspire, we started looking at protein production. And specifically, when you look at livestock production around the world, we know that cattle, for example, contribute massively to greenhouse gas emissions. So like the agriculture sector contributes more to greenhouses than the entire transportation sector combined. And the reason is because some of the animals that we eat, delicious as they are incredibly inefficient at converting what they eat into protein. So if you think of a cow needs to eat 8 kilos of feed just to give you 1 kilo of meat. And so think of the amount of land, water, energy, fertilizer, and the shipment and transportation just to produce this 1 kilo. And so we thought to ourselves, is there a protein source that already exists in the world that can potentially address this problem? And of course, the answer we found was insects. Insects are widely consumed around the world in about 80% of the world's countries. And unlike a cow, which needs about 8 kilos of feed to produce 1 kilo of meat, with insects, that conversion is 1.2 to 1. So you're using a fraction of the amount of land, water, and resources. And so that was the solution we envisioned, and the question for us was, can we build a scalable, modular, high-tech way to produce insect protein in an indoor, climate-controlled environment so that you could effectively set up these facilities in any geography, in any climate, to produce protein security for populations around the world, and that's what gave birth to my company, Aspire.